Thanks for joining us for the Customer Experience Podcast. My name's Troy Batchelor, and we're going to be discussing client-centric best practices, tools, and ideas with today's top facility management leaders. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Please be sure to share it on any of your social media platforms, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. We'd love to hear your feedback as well. If you have ideas for future podcasts or future interviews, please be sure to email me, Troy Batchelor at FrenchCompanyLLC.com, and I look forward to getting your feedback. Enjoy. Hey, Tom K., thanks for joining us and on the podcast today, and appreciate you taking the time out. Who is Tom K.? What are you doing right now? Who are you working for?
Wow, thank you, Troy. Well, I don't know if I'm as infamous as you may now, but my name's Tom K. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing at EnTouch. And for those of you who don't know what EnTouch does, we provide cloud-based service-enabled platforms with purpose-fit applications. And that's a big definition for what laymen might call just a smart technology. So we do basic blocking and tackling, HVAC control, lighting control, refrigeration management, monitoring, metering of gas and water. It's all tied into the smart building space, smart building solutions, the IoT, if you will, the Internet of Things. But the real value that we're offering is just the actionable insights and the outcomes we provide for our customers. So it's the data that's driving decisions for the multi-site retailer.
Some of the companies that come to you guys, obviously because of your marketing or whatever, but what are some of the biggest challenges that companies bring to you that talk about, here's one of our biggest problems and we're just really not sure how we can solve it. We think that the IoT space might be that solution, but they really don't know. What are those bigger challenges?
The unknown is a challenge that we face, and honestly, it's a challenge that a lot of folks face. There's this high level of misinformation out there. There's also a lot of, dead bodies, if you would, that we're having to overcome the poor expectation that our quote unquote competitors may have placed in the space. So in the case of, energy management systems or EMS, traditional EMS systems are seen as a 3-letter acronym to a 4-letter word, right? So what we have to do is to educate our prospects or the industry as a whole as to why the solution today, this smart building solution, is far superior and much broader than what most people kind of define as energy management. So IoT's been around for 15 years. It's machine-to-machine learning, but in the case of IoT, it's often overused because there's no real application. So the IoT for us is to leverage any third-party system that's communicating to the cloud that there is a business case or a business reason to pull in that data. So in our world, the simple, easy application would be a CMMS or computerized maintenance management system. So if you're a retailer, multi-site retailer, and you've invested in ServiceChannel or Corrigo or FM Pilot with Facility Source or Nest of that nature, there is a repository of repair and maintenance data that's outside, oftentimes, other systems in that retailer's environment. In our world, we'll pull that data in. We'll pull repair and maintenance data in, align it with energy data for a distributed facility or distributed portfolio, and now we can provide them with clear direction to the overall health of that facility. And that's far more dynamic and useful than what somebody might have thought coming into a discussion with InTouch. They're lumping us, and it's no disrespect to them. It's this, they don't know what they don't know. Right. They're lumping us in with these also-rans that have been around peddling information, misinformation, and the promise of double-digit returns in a short period of time, and they really don't have a clear understanding of what the hell they do. So we're having to overcome that obstacle. And that misinformation creates anxiety for somebody who's really trying to get a handle on this enormous amount of energy spend across a distributed portfolio, not to mention that they have depreciating assets on their rooftops that they got to get a handle on. They got to figure out, how can I extend that asset life 1, 2, 3 years by leveraging useful, actionable data. And so, you feel the passion I'm talking about is because I get pretty upset when somebody is lumping us with somebody that doesn't know what the hell they're doing, nor do they even have the understanding of how we do what we do. We are all consumers. And I read a stat the other day that, was it 65% of people being sold dislike the salesperson.
Yep.
And it was because of their pushy nature. And I thought to myself, that's true in anything. So I'm trying to put my hat on and say, listen, where is the disconnect? I know it's an overused term, but those who are successful really are a true consultant to their customer, and they really are a quote unquote partner. When I'm able to provide ongoing value to my customer, we all win. When my customer is under the impression that I don't provide value or I'm only in it for me, there will be some rub, and it will be the wrong way. And so, again, when you're talking about people in the space and what would you tell them and how would they do it, I'm like, listen, guys, how would you like to be treated? How would you like to be sold? How would you like to be? What value could you want from somebody? And if you turn the table on that, I think we're much more successful in what we do. And I think it's perceived by the customer as one who shows genuine interest.
Yep.
So.
Well, and part of your role obviously is to develop and build sales teams, and I know that you participate in several mentorship type programs for new folks in the industry. So, and all this is great advice for them. But if you could talk to yourself, you've been in the industry for quite some time. If you could talk back to yourself and give yourself advice, knowing what you know today, what advice would you give yourself coming up in the industry through the sales organization, communicating with customers? It is about delivering value and putting yourself in the customer's shoes. But what other type of advice would you give that would help you be more successful?
So from the facility perspective, I'd say run. No.
There are probably many people on this podcast now that would say the exact same thing.
No, seriously, I think when I can consider myself pretty well versed in this space, and I would probably have to maybe have made more a concerted effort to align myself with a greater number of my peers, because I think we should always stretch ourselves. And I think what typically happens, and we're all human, is that once we leave an environment where we have the opportunity to pull from peers within the industry or customers within the industry, we get back into our world, we put our blinders on, we focus on what we do, and we kind of forget about that. And I think it's something that I challenge myself every day to do, is to try to align myself with one individual, two individuals, some level of resource that becomes an opportunity for me to learn. Because I think if we're always learning, and we all have a level of understanding within something, we can always get better. We should always stretch ourselves to be better. So if I was looking back 20 years ago, I'd say, Tom, you did a pretty good job, but you probably missed a lot of opportunity to leverage your peers, because quite frankly, if I sat with you for a day, I would learn much more about how you operate your life, not only professionally, but personally, that I could glean a little bit of information from and say, you know what, I like the way Troy thinks about that. I never thought about it that way. Because we're going to get set in our ways. And I think when you do that, you become a hermit, and you really stifle your ability to learn. And in our world, anything that I can learn from that can be translated to my customer, my employees, my employer, or even my family, I'm going to feel much greater value, not only for myself, but the people I share that with. I mean, I always say this, listen, if I can lift you up and make you better, that's great. That makes me feel 100%. if I can do it to myself and to you, it's even better.
So on a personal note, you travel all the time. You know,
Yeah.
I think every time I talk to you, either boarding a plane or on a plane or getting off a plane, right?
That's true.
So,
That's true.
or in a car, you're always out there. How in the world do you stay personally organized and deal with all the follow-up and meetings that you deal with on a regular basis?
I'll be honest with you. It's not as daunting as one might think. And the reason I think that is the case is because I really do make a commitment that if I get a call or an email, I'm going to respond within a very short period of time. Now, if I get flooded with emails or flooded with calls, then you certainly have to prioritize. But I'll be honest with you, I do fly a lot, and I probably do more work and am more productive at 30,000 feet than I probably would ever be in a desk. And that's simply because I don't have the distractions. So I'm a monthly subscriber to go on Wi-Fi online, and I'm at 30,000 feet. I'm doing email and sending stuff out. The other thing I think people are notoriously poor at, I think I'm pretty good at, is delegating. So if I know that a question's coming in that I could answer, but I have someone that's equally, or if not better, could answer, I'm going to relate them and delegate down to them and ask them to do that. I think also there's another value to that is, one, it puts that person that you're delegating down, it gives them an opportunity to have a voice. It also gives them a level of expertise that they may or may not have felt they had, but I have confidence in them to do that. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you and I or anyone else could take on the responsibilities and do it 100% of the time. I think we do a disservice to ourselves and do a disservice to the people that work for us. And I think when you do that, you can spread a little bit of this work out. And the other thing is if I take on everything that comes my way, then I'm the keeper of that information. Yep. And if I need to disseminate at that point, there's no trail that leads them up to it, and therefore they're at a disadvantage. I can't drop a big project in front of somebody and say do it without having some level of context, or they've been involved to some level of that discussion. It's just not fair to them, and it probably wouldn't be successful either. It's easy to be busy, but it's harder to be productive.
It's funny that you say that. I have a quote posted on my board here. It says, "Don't mistake movement for achievement. It's easy to take out by being busy. The question is, busy at doing what?" That's by Jim Rohn.
I love it. I think it's awesome. That's spot on.
And I have to read that to myself every day, because every day you look at yourself and you go, what did I accomplish today? And you go, I accomplished nothing.
But I was very busy.
Stuff, but I didn't accomplish anything.
If you're not happy with what you're doing, listen, that's okay. Just don't do it here.
That's it.
There's plenty of opportunity out there. If you're not happy here, move on. That's fine. I'm not going to say, sorry. I'm just going to say good luck.
And truly the most admirable thing is to recognize when that happens and to be upfront about it and allow somebody like you or I, we can help you find that right place if this isn't the right place. But if you're not truthful about it to yourself, then you know what? That's going to be your downfall in the future. You got to be true to yourself.
Well, and we all have kids, and I tell my son this every time. I say, listen, attitude is paramount. If you have a shitty attitude, I don't want to be around you. Amen. If you have an excellent attitude and can-do attitude, that's a premium. That's what you should strive for every day, because you're going to get kicked in the stomach 9 times out of 10, but it's your attitude that's going to keep you going.
It's funny. I would hire somebody with a great attitude and no experience a lot quicker than I would hire somebody that doesn't seem to have an attitude and has a lot of experience and doesn't seem to have that passion about them. They can have experience out the wazoo and plenty of background, and they've done it before and all this kind of stuff. But if their attitude sucks, they're not getting it. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, and that translates directly to, I think, to life as far as just having a passion, right? If you're kind of lukewarm on anything.
Tell me, from your viewpoint, what does that next 5 or 10 years look like in the facility management industry from where you sit?
I think those who are entering the space will be required to have a higher skill set than those that are leaving. the new professional, the new facility professional really is going to have to leverage all the tools that are available to them. And that's as we migrate as an industry to really a digitized facility management process or a mobile process. So the FM today is going to be different than the FM tomorrow. And what's going to require is going to be a tremendous amount of education. And it's really going to be changing the dynamics and the frameworks of the facility organization. I do believe, because I live in this space, is that without data, these individuals will fail. So the FMs 5-10 years down the road, completely different, leveraging all the tools, then take into consideration all the functionality that's going to be improved with artificial intelligence and virtual reality. Those things are real, and if you're not thinking they are. The value that things like this podcast offer is that if I can just pull out one nugget, glean one message from one of your previous podcasts and use it, apply it, I have benefited. I have created value for myself and someone else.
Well, Tom, thanks for the time. We really appreciate it. It's been a great conversation, and I know everybody's going to enjoy the podcast. I'll put your contact information below so that we make sure that if folks want to reach out to you directly and have more questions for you, they can. And certainly, I'm sure we'll have other opportunities to do this again. So look forward to it.
Absolutely. And I would just say this. Anybody out there who hears it, if you want to know some of the podcasts I listen to, the newsletters I subscribe to, just shoot me an email. I'll forward them your way, and you can do whatever you want with them.
Yep, contact you through LinkedIn, email, and we'll make sure all of your contact information is under this podcast.
Terrific.
Cool beans.
Success.
Thanks.
All right, buddy.
Hey, thanks for joining us on today's podcast. Look for us every couple of weeks. Be sure to subscribe. Also, please share with everyone you know on all of your social media platforms. We would appreciate the promotion. And if you have ideas for guests or topics, we'd love to hear from you. Email me at troybatchelor@frenchcompanyllc.com, and we'll see you on the next podcast.